Hi, hello, it's me, Julian. We're back in the library, and I have my ring light on the brightest setting in hopes of it being light enough, because the sun sets super early now already, and it's already on its way out, so... Today, we have another book review! Yes, I've been reading a lot more slowly. I've been in a reading slump since 2020. I've been reading a lot of thrillers, trying to get myself out of the slump, because sometimes I just need something that's just like cheesy and intense to get me out of a slump. And this was a thriller that I've had my eye on for a little while. It's called The Project. And it's by the same person who wrote Sadie, which is a very popular book that I remember thinking was okay, so I was definitely willing to give their writing another chance. And friends, let me tell you, I'm just gonna get it out of the way, because I probably already put Rant somewhere in the title of this video. I was hugely disappointed. Disappointed! Let's read the synopsis off of Goodreads using my tablet here. Lo Denham, by the way, I hate that her last name is Denham. I was listening to this as an audio, and so I kept hearing it as denim, like the material, and I just could not help but think of that every time it was said. Lo Denham is used to being on her own. After her parents died in a tragic car accident, her sister Bee joined the elusive community called the Unity Project, leaving Lo to fend for herself. Desperate not to lose the only family she has left, Lo has spent 6 years trying to reconnect with Bee, only to meet radio silence. When Lo's given the perfect opportunity to gain access to Bee's reclusive life, she thinks they're finally going to be reunited. But it's difficult to find someone who doesn't want to be found, and as Lo delves deeper into the project and its charismatic leader, she begins to realize that there's more at risk than just her relationship with Bee. Her very life might be in danger. As she uncovers more questions than answers at each turn, everything Lo thought she knew about herself, her sister, and the world is upended. One thing doesn't change, though, and that's what keeps her going. Bee needs her. Lo will do anything to save her. Yeah, no. Most of that is exaggerated or kind of untrue. Yes, Lo is looking for her sister, but it doesn't seem like she's been trying to find her for all these years. It seems like an opportunity to find her has been dropped in Lo's lap, and that's why she goes to try to find Bee. Anyway, this book seemed like it had a lot of things in its favor, things that would draw me to it, like a cult. I love culty stuff. And estranged sisters, estranged family over romance any day of the week. Now this review is going to be chock full of spoilers because it is a rant review and I want to talk about all of the things that piss me off, and the sisters never get back together. Like, one of the things I love about estranged siblings is that when they come together it can be very emotionally explosive. Never happens. Now, Lo is supposedly a journalist, and she is also investigating this cult because it's kind of a 2-for-1. She's like, ooh, I can investigate this cult and search for my missing sister. This looks ideal. Which it's not, because Lo is an idiot. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. Let's go through my notes in here. I'm using my doggy notebook, my new notebook. If you want to see me pick out this notebook, you can follow me over on Patreon. I have a video where you get to come along with me and choose a new notebook. Who doesn't love doing that? It took me a while to get into this book because the story goes back and forth between the two sisters. Lo, who is the primary character, her sections are bigger, she gets more, she is in the present, and she is in first person. And then Bee, who is in the past a little bit, and she is in third person, and you kind of get her, like, life in the cult, kind of, like, just like hints about what's going on with her. And the jumping back and forth between the sisters and the jumping back and forth between the tenses really took a long time for me to adjust to. I don't know why, because I've read books like that before, but this one, I think the writing style, it was just not working with that jumping. I don't really know how to nail down the writing style either. I felt kept at arm's length at all times, which is a problem I'll talk about a little bit later on. For a book that is about a cult and spends a decent amount of time at Cult HQ, you meet very few people. You got your charismatic leader and you've got like 2 of his lackeys. And that's it. And it's supposed to be a cult full of people, and I really wanted to see how the average cult member lives, but we never get that. It's very, very close off and small cast. Now, like I was talking about, the main character is the trope of a journalist who for some reason lacks all critical thinking skills. Authors keep making their main characters in these thrillers be journalists because that gives the character an excuse to have to go be investigating this thing. But if you've got a journalist character, we the reader expect somebody who will ask questions, have thoughts, be suspicious sometimes, and that is not Lo. Lo gets to the cult headquarters and proceeds to believe everything they tell her. We, the readers, are suspicious, but Lo, she just goes along with it, and every clue that we, the readers, get that shit is not what it seems, whoosh, right over Lo's head.
This is fine.
And maybe we would believe it if she was just like an average troubled person, a homeless girl, something like that. But no, she came into this to investigate the cult and find her sister, and she's just drifting along doing whatever they tell her. The first third of this book is Lo getting love-bombed and indoctrinated by the charismatic cult leader who for some reason has time to personally indoctrinate this woman. And his love bombing isn't even that good. Because she believes everything she's told, he doesn't have to try very hard at all to indoctrinate her. At one point, they cut her brakes, and as she's driving away, she crashes her car because her brakes have been cut, and she doesn't question it. What? She's like just driving away and all of a sudden her brakes don't work and then she crashes and and the cult like takes her back in and like bandages her wounds, and they're like, oh, our mechanic is gonna look at your car because obviously you can believe what he says.
Danger, Will Robinson! Danger! No, Will Robinson! Danger!
And she's fine with all of it. She's like, oh, it must have been a freak accident. She doesn't think about this at all. Like, maybe think about the fact that your car had brakes when you came here and suddenly doesn't have brakes now. No. Okay. Everything this cult leader does seems very suspicious, but he's like, oh no, we help people. We're the good cult, actually. The religious element, too, is sort of weird in this book. Obviously, when you've got a cult leader who believes himself to be like the vessel of God, you're gonna get some, like, a little bit of religious stuff in there, but it's really limited, and you don't really hear the leader talking much about that aspect of himself. Like, sometimes he will, but you'd think you'd hear a lot more of it. And maybe it's just because Lo is not religious and he knows he can't get her that way, but I was expecting to hear a lot more about how he is like the new Messiah. What parts of the Bible do they keep and not keep? Do they have their own holy book? There's a lot of questions for this religious cult not being answered, and the main character's not asking questions. Why would she? She's just a journalist. Again, I talk about the writing keeping me at arm's length, which made the pacing slow and painful. If I'm going to read this woman getting indoctrinated for the first third of the book, I'm gonna need to really feel like I can relate to her. But the writing kept me from ever really feeling connected to her. Now, maybe it's because she is not very smart, but I never cared about her or her sister. I didn't understand why I should care. She never really brought any value as a character. She just she was the sort of person that things happened to. And then, it was as though the author was writing along, checked their watch, and went, oh, it's time for all of the answers to be revealed. And I shit you not, a character that we have not even heard of shows up to tell the main character everything. She goes to a cemetery to leave flowers on her parents' graves, and this priest just shows up, and he's like, how would you like to know all of the answers? That is the laziest shit I have ever seen! Like, what the hell? You don't even, like, build him up? Like, there's a little tiny hint that he exists earlier in the book, but, like, it's blink and you'll miss it. I had forgotten that it had happened until the main character brought it up. Nice of him to just show up exactly now with all of the secrets revealed, and again, the main character goes along, she listens, at first she's like, oh no, that's not true, but after listening for a little while longer, she's like, yeah, I guess that is true. And then she goes back to the cult and they have flipped the evil switch and all of a sudden they're doing all the evil things that she literally just heard about in the previous scene. And finally, I was ready to give this book 2 stars. I was prepared to give it 2 stars because it did have the culty aspect and I was like, you know what, whatever, maybe it's me. But then I had to drop a star for the ending because there is no climax. She goes with the cult leader to the lake where she's going to be baptized, but we all know that he's going to try to drown her. He's holding her under the water. We cut to black, and we have a time skip into the future where she's fine, everything's fine. The cult leader somehow ended up dead in that lake, but we don't know how. She could have killed him. He could have slipped on a rock and cut his head open. There's no climax. None. If I tried to write a book without a climax, I would be laughed out of the room. Now, my husband, I told him this, and he was like, are you sure you didn't, like, skip a chapter? Are you sure the audiobook didn't, like, malfunction? And I went on Goodreads, and other people are asking, what the fuck happened to the cult leader when they cut to black and just time skipped? So I'm like, no, there legitimately was no climax in this book. I don't know. I don't know. How do you get away with writing a book without a climax? I've heard of fading to black for a sex scene, but fading to black for your entire climax? Are you kidding? Different kind of climax. Two different types of climax. She's just fine. Also, we don't really find out what happens to the sister. It is heavily, heavily implied, though, that the cult killed her. And I don't mind that as much as I mind the cult leader just dying off screen somehow, and like she got out of it somehow, and now she's fine.
We're fine. We're all fine here now. Thank you. How are you?
She joins a cult, believes everything she's told. Someone shows up at the 11th hour to be like, no, the cult is evil, actually. She goes back to the cult. They begin acting super evil. They go to kill her, and then she's fine. They will not be taking any more questions at this time. So those are my thoughts on the project. A huge disappointment to me. Have you read it? Did you actually enjoy the like huge gaping hole, the gap in the book? Was that like a feature for you instead of a bug? A lot of people gave it 5 stars on Goodreads, so I don't know. Maybe it's me. Also, please let me know if there are any thrillers that you think I should read, something exciting, something to keep me on the edge of my seat. Comment below. If you liked what you saw here, there is a lot more content on this channel, so go check all of it out. Feel free to wander at your leisure. Lots of book reviews. You're bound to see something else you like. If you want to see even more, you can follow me on Patreon, where all of your donations help me self-publish my own books. Plus, you get exclusive content never, ever, ever seen here on the regular channel. Whoa! If you're looking for something that's very different from the project to read, I have a fantasy romance called The Wolf and the Hawk that's available now on Amazon, so go check it out. All of my social media is linked in the doobly-doo for ease of your clicking, and I will see all of you again next time with whatever it is I happen to be doing next time. Bye!
A day may come when the courage of men fails, when we forsake our friends and break all bonds of fellowship. But it is not this day.
Merween, Steve, Kit, Hidden Glade, Persephone, Light Julie, Anna, Anna C., Belle, Patrick, Anne Sophie, Callison, Ray, Shelby, Zaire, Jesper, Irene, Scribbling Cat, Savvy, Jenny, Amanda, Lisa, and Lennox. Come, little children, I'll take thee away into a land of enchantment. Come, little children, the time's come